Hello, it's Vesper. It's nice to see you. Today, I'd like to share my appreciation for something that stood out to me for quite some time. Not everyone will agree with my perspective, and that's okay. We all have our preferences regarding inclusivity and allyship. So feel free to share your own thoughts in the comments whether or not you agree with me. Anyway, I'd like to share my appreciation for the quiet inclusivity of Paralives. Parafolk of color are just there, living life, casually integrated into the game world. They're not reduced to tropes or cast as cultural monoliths. Queer parafolk aren't paraded in rainbow dresses, rainbow shoes, or otherwise on the nose clothing. Queer parafolk are also just there. They're part of the game world. No nonsense, no gimmicks. Meanwhile, Enjoy didn't even launch in early access with gay marriage. From a development standpoint, it's just strange to me. If the game already supports marriage as a system, you've already defined the parameters for who can marry, as in young adult and older Zoys, and Zoys who are in a romantic relationship but not related. So, for same sex Zoys to be excluded from marriage, wouldn't you need to explicitly, purposefully add that restriction? But I suppose that's another video for another time. Circling back, neurodivergent and disabled parafolk are also part of the foundation of Paralives. Personality traits, medical wearables, and objects that could be related to neurodivergence or disabilities aren't locked behind paywalls. They're not event rewards. They're not used for marketing. They're just there, written into the foundation of the game. The Paralives team is creating the foundation of the game with members of marginalized communities in mind. And they're doing it quietly, in a way that makes me feel they truly see underrepresented people as part of the collective. Not something to address later, not DLC, not an add on, not an afterthought. I'm not saying loud and proud allyship is bad. I'm just saying that in the gaming community, sometimes loud and proud feels performative. I hate that word, but there's no better adjective. I'm sorry. Furthermore, there's something special about treating people across the board with normalcy. It's giving people in real life are deaf. So, yeah, hearing aids are part of the foundation of the game. People also drink water. So, yes, there's drinking water in the game. You know what I mean? Also, side note, what do people mean when they say life simulation games shouldn't have things they consider sad and depressing? Because video games are supposed to be fun. Your sim can have a baby, then die in a house fire a minute later. Your sim can starve. Your sim can have their children taken away and be robbed and be abducted and impregnated by aliens. All of those things are sad. Obviously, some aspects of race, sexuality, neurodivergence, and disabilities are tragic, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't be represented appropriately in life simulation games. Also, so many people live as members of marginalized communities and aren't miserable.
He suffers from autism. I don't suffer, I just have it.
My point is, death is obviously the least ideal thing to experience against, I don't know, needing protective hairstyles. I can't believe I need to say that. Taking medication daily, requiring a wheelchair, and being gay. I don't think people really know what they're saying sometimes. Or I guess I should say, I don't think people really know what they're implying sometimes. While it's incredibly hard for developers of life simulation games to get inclusivity right for whatever reason, the Paralives team doesn't seem to be struggling, and I appreciate their quiet, authentic, meaningful inclusivity. So I put together some slides to show you what I mean, and I hope you can see what I see. And if you don't, that's cool too. I think it's important to say that people think differently about sizes depending on how they've been socialized and how they've been marketed to. So when I talk about the shapes and sizes I'm presenting to you in this video, I'm speaking about them in relation to how I've been socialized and how sizes have fit on me and my family and my friends throughout my entire life. This introduction is lengthy enough, so let's get into the slides. The first thing I'd like to show my appreciation for is how the developers have made parafolk of so many different shapes and sizes and uses all of them in their showcases. In this first slide, you can see two different parafolk with two different body types. The one in the blue dress on the left has an hourglass shape to their body, while the one on the right is more rectangular. The one in blue has shoulders that have a more average width, while the one in purple definitely has shoulders with a smaller width. Both parafolk carry their weight differently and have different body compositions overall, and I really appreciate that. In this second slide, you can see a parafolk with a smaller sized body, which I also appreciate because I do think that sometimes smaller bodies are excluded in body positivity and in moments that are supposed to be inclusive. My eyes might be deceiving me, but it looks like the parafolk has shoulders with a smaller width in the light blue top, the plain light blue top, whereas in the, I think that's paisley, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is in the other top with the patterns on it, the parafolk seems to have shoulders with a slightly larger width. In this next slide, you can see more parafolk, the one on the left in the black tank top. Again, another rectangular body with smaller shoulders on the smaller side. Then we have another parafolk on the right with smaller shoulders. Even in the trailer, we have parafolk with different body distributions, different shapes, different sizes, different colors, different hairstyles. Speaking of different hairstyles, in this next slide, you can see a black hairstyle, an updo. It's very beautiful. It's very well drawn. I love the dyed variations. I love the detail of the roots being the natural color. Something I also would love to touch on is that makeup. Look at the blush. Look at how the blush looks on the skin. The Sims 4 could never. This is my Sim Ari. Look at her skin with the makeup on it. Look at how it looks on her. There are striations, swirls, and whirls, and it just gets worse the deeper the skin tone. And it's the same for every single blush. But when she's lighter, look at that. No striations, no whirls, no swirls. It looks flawless. And that's just not right. I don't know how EA has gotten away with that as long as they have. In this next slide, you can see more black hairstyles. They look good with accessories on. They look good with dye. Meanwhile, in The Sims 4, straight and loosely curled hairs tend to have their regular mesh and a mesh that makes sense underneath a hat, whereas African textured hairs have their standard mesh and disappear altogether underneath hats. In these next two slides, you'll see a couple more Afro hairstyles that I really love. Again, the makeup looks absolutely beautiful. We have some bubble braids, and in this next slide, we have more Afro hairstyles. I did include the curly bun. I have curly hair myself, and I foresee lots of people using that bun on parafolk of color. I'm mixed, so I'd probably use it for myself. Before we move on to the neurodivergence and disabilities portion of the slides I put together, I just wanted to show you the facial features of different parafolk side by side. There are so many different shapes, different eye shapes, even the ears are different between parafolks. There are different jaws, different necks, different Adam's apples, which is really interesting. I appreciate the acne scars, the reddened cheeks. I appreciate the different skin textures all around. Parafolk truly looks so incredibly different from one another, and I just appreciate that there's so much attention to detail. What I'm trying to say is they're off to a fantastic start. Obviously, there's some room to grow, and I'll touch on that more at the end of the video. In this next slide, you'll see some hearing aids and prosthetics. The Sims 4 didn't even add hearing aids until nearly a decade after launch, but Paralives is giving us hearing aids during early access. And I don't know whether or not we're getting prosthetics in early access, but I really appreciate that they're being worked on before the launch of the game. In September 2024, a Paralives team member shared a post going over how they were designing spaces and objects for people living with neurodivergence and disabilities. And I'd like to share my thoughts about each photo and each aspect of that post with you. In regard to the first photo, Chloe wrote, "For this room, I imagined a para that likes pastel colors, likes space, and is autistic when creating the room. I decided to fill the room with a lot of comfort items like the different plushies, including the new weighted lizard." Okay, before I present the rest of the slides and comment on this, I just wanted to say I started professionally writing and editing when I graduated high school. I've done all kinds of work for all kinds of people, and this team does not have a professional writer. not for their social media, at least not for their Patreon. I actually don't know about their X or Facebook or whatever else, but they definitely don't have one for their Patreon posts. The good news is that they're definitely not using AI or ChatGPT even for things like this. I'm not saying it to make fun of Chloe or anyone else who posts to their Patreon. I'm just saying that the writing is like it's so casually it's so bad, but, like, in an endearing way. Sorry, you've been staring at this slide for a minute at this point. I just really appreciate the comfort items, the different plushies, the weighted lizard. I don't know if it's going to be functional come May, but we'll see. I just like that they're keeping neurodivergent and disabled people in mind when creating spaces and making objects for the game. In this next slide, for this next photo, Chloe wrote, "STEM toys and noise canceling headphones are lifesavers when you are getting overwhelmed." We also have a heating pouch to combat cold winter nights. Again, I love the STEM toys. I see the fidget spinner, which is great. There's a salt lamp there too. I know people with anxiety like those. I have anxiety myself, but I've never tried a salt lamp. For this next photo, Chloe wrote, "You can maybe notice the asthma pumps along with the blood glucose meter and the insulin pump." I really appreciate this because as a kid, I had horrible environment induced asthma. And my best friend of 15 years has diabetes. So it's really cool to see these things represented in a game. For this next photo, Chloe wrote, "I imagined a space for someone who'd have an autoimmune disease. And so they always have their trusty oxygen concentrator not too far. I can only imagine how much this means to people who need medical devices. You just don't see this stuff in life simulator games, even though this stuff is life to so many people." For this next photo, Chloe wrote, "Pretty much every aspect of the wheelchair is recolorable, so I'm hoping you'll be able to customize it to your liking." The Sims, after 10 years, doesn't even have wheelchairs. And yet, Paralives is making wheelchairs when their game isn't even released yet. I have a good friend who has EDS, and they rely on a wheelchair sometimes. They don't always use it, but sometimes they do need it. And there are so many other disabilities that result in a person needing a wheelchair. So for these objects to not be in life sims, to not even be thought about, it blows my mind. And for this next photo, Chloe wrote, "We also have a walker with recolorable tennis balls, of course." I'm presenting some of the photos in an order that they weren't posted in because it just makes more sense. So, regarding more mobility aids, there are also crutches and walking canes. And of course, if someone requires mobility aids, um, they might be restricted in general. So, Chloe wrote, "With someone with mobility restrictions in mind, I created a bathroom large enough to easily fit a wheelchair, with everything at arm's length while seated. I added some handles as support to get to the toilet and the shower. They are, however, purely aesthetic and not functional." And for the front of the house, Chloe wrote, "I wanted to have fun, breaking, and testing the build tools, and wanted roofs at different heights and levels. Disclaimer, the little ramp at the front is something I did with, I think they meant our advanced tools. It is not currently an object in the game." I don't know why I said I think they meant our. I literally wrote that myself as I was looking at what they wrote. I'm pretty sure they did write our and I made the typo, so sorry. Anyway, I think it's lovely that they're testing their tools to see how they can make wheelchair accessibility for builds. I'm sure down the line they'll probably just make um, actual wheelchair ramps for builds. If we circle back to bathrooms, this is a different bathroom than the bathroom that was featured in the previous slide. As you can see, Chloe wrote, "These bathroom staples are soon to be your bathroom staples." And there's some medication, gauze, bandages. I think I see one of those little pill packages, or I guess pill containers, where people have, all their Monday pills, all their Tuesday pills, so on and so forth. I love the first aid kit, and I think those are feminine products, but I could be wrong. Overall, I just love this clutter. I don't think we have any medication bottles in terms of clutter in Sims 4. So I do appreciate this because so many people take medication daily, and even that little bit of representation goes a long way in my book. For this next photo, Chloe wrote, "We have some small hearing aids and a sign language book. There's also a text phone, which allows people to read what the other person on the other end is saying. Nowadays, it's possible on cell phones, but the folks struggling with technology tend to still use it. I love the realism of there being a modern solution to something someone might need, but them still relying on what they know. I just think that's really cute, aside from just the sheer fact that I appreciate all the different representation for all the different ways people live. And for this photo, Chloe wrote, "We have a white cane. It has a marshmallow tip, for anyone wondering, a book in braille, and a magnifier to see things better." In the original post, Chloe did write a marshmallow tip. The typo is my bad, but I will not be editing this slide. Sorry. Also, I wanted to make sure I added this because I think it also shines as something inclusive the developers are making sure is in the game. Many people from Asian countries follow the last name, or I guess the family name first name order. If you've ever noticed this, it was probably with Korean names, but there are so many countries that follow this naming order, and I'd imagine it means a whole lot that people can see their name ordered properly. Anyway, Paralives is being developed with a variety of colors, shapes, sizes, and experiences in mind, and I really appreciate their approach. They're not being flashy about surpassing our expectations. They're quietly weaving representation and realism into their game with such normalcy and grace. Their team is so incredibly small, and yet they're creating something that feels massive. It amazes me that a handful of people can show these large, well funded companies a better path. Actually, no, it doesn't. And this isn't me saying the game is perfect. Obviously, there are experiences that aren't represented yet, and realistically, no game can capture every lived experience. But I do feel that this team genuinely wants to include as much as they can, and I think we'll be pleasantly surprised by what they introduce us to down the line. Furthermore, I don't think members of marginalized communities expect every lived experience to be represented. We just want to see that some of our experiences are considered base game, not DLC, not something added 10 years later, just part of the world from the start. If you enjoyed this video, I'm a new creator, so a like and or a kind comment goes a long way for me. If you'd like to see more of my stuff, remember to subscribe to my channel. I have so many videos planned and I can't wait to make them. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next one.